Our next and our last reconstruction tonight is a crime that police already know is going to be a very hard one to crack. It seems to have been a professional killing, a cold-blooded execution almost. Now, you may not know who did it, but you might know of a motive or have a clue. The victim was Lloyd Simpson, a Londoner, and if you're an East Ender, you might have seen him walking Yank, his American pit bull terrier, in Victoria Park in Hackney. It's Guy Fawkes night a year ago. Lloyd was watching television. Outside, there was a fireworks party, a noisy one. This film might prick someone's conscience. In fact, Lloyd's father is so anxious and determined to have the killers caught that he's decided to relive what happened with an actor playing the part of his son.
Lloyd, can you get them sacks for me? Colour in there and white in there. All right, then. I'm a waste paper dealer. I collect waste paper, cardboard, and I do transport. So Lloyd worked for me. Just got to make a quick phone call. Lloyd was with me Friday afternoon, and I asked him if he would take the car home on the night time. So he said, yeah, OK, I will.
So long, Dad. See you later.
Hello, Lloyd. See you later. When I arrived at the pub, he was sitting at the bar, drinking his little half of a pint, as he always has, and his cigar. But he never seemed worried, never seemed anything like that. He seemed happy enough. On the Saturday, what he done, he brought the car back. Then he's locked the car up, and then he's took the dog and gone his usual way. Has gone over the flyover, right, into Victoria Park, and gone down towards home.
Oh, easy. Easy, boy, easy. Long way to go yet, mate. Come on. Yank. Come on. Yank, back for it. Come on. Get your legs up. Yes. Go on. Who's that? Go on. Go on. See if you can get him. Go on. Go on. You can do better than that. Go on.
Yank is a wonderful dog. He's an American pit bull terrier. They're a nice, friendly dog, providing you keep them away from other dogs. They seem to want to fight other dogs.
All right, mate. I can't stop. I'll see you later on, all right?
They are valuable dogs. I would say they're at £500–600. They're supposed to be being brought into this country for fighting. But I don't know of any what do fight, and I know the Yankees never fight because Yank's only 11. He was only 11 months old. Now, as he goes down the canal, this is where he's met Chrissy Roberts before he's gone home, and that's all I can tell you about that part of it.
All right, mate.
Yeah, how you going?
Hello, Chris.
All right, Yank?
He's doing all right.
Yeah, he looks good.
Like new harness.
Yeah, lovely. Where you get that?
Well, I bought it today, just down the road.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Handsome.
I'll tell you what, I've got his old one indoors. You can have that if you want.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll drop it off a bit later on.
Lovely. All right, now, where you been?
I'll just drop the motor off down the old man's.
Yeah? Yeah.
As it goes, I better get him home, get him some dinner, like.
Yeah, look
all right?
hungry.
I'll see you later, all right? Good luck, mate.
Chrissy was the last one to see him alive. That was about 1:30. Then he went home. Whether he went straight home, that I wouldn't know.
Come on, you. Up. No more. Give it time. Give it time, boy. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Huh? You enjoyed that little monkey, didn't you? Yeah, that's a good boy. Good boy. Yes. Come on, little cookie. Come on. Yeah.
Now, can you actually believe this? 2:07:41 is Resch. Bartelski is over the bump. He's over the second.
Blessed fowls.
Going to bowl you over, get it? The rumble tombs, you've seen them on telly.
A sort of Ida. Pressing drizzle and mist don't put off the devotees of a sport.
As far as we know, he laid there from the Saturday to the Sunday, and from the Sunday to the Monday. Because it wasn't until I went in the flat and I found him. I went through the door, and then I shouted out, Lloyd, Lloyd, where are you? Lloyd. And then I got no reply. You know, when you think that the walls are so thin, and our people don't hear anything with like a shotgun going off, it's hard to believe that no one couldn't hear anything. I can't accept that no one don't know about it, because someone out there must know about this. And I know if someone do know, but they're as bad as them who killed him.
Bill Peters, why was he killed? What was the motive?
If I knew why Lloyd Simpson was killed, I'm convinced I would be very close to finding those responsible. Quite clearly, he was killed for something he had in his possession. I think it may be drugs or something like that, because his premises had been searched very thoroughly and in what appears to be a frenzied way. And those responsible probably found what they were looking for. But it must have been something very important for them to kill Lloyd Simpson for.
He wasn't expecting anyone, was he?
He certainly wasn't. All indications are that he was sitting watching television quite comfortably with his shoes off, watching Saturday afternoon television.
So he hadn't made an appointment. I mean, could they have known that he was going to be there? Might he have met them that afternoon?
I don't think so. They could see him from the veranda by looking straight through the kitchen window. They could see him sitting there, clearly through the beaded curtain, and they then kicked the door in and shot him.
Now, apart from the neighbour, no one saw him, no one heard him?
That seems to be the case.
Unless, of course, people were frightened to tell you about it.
Yes, this may well be so. If anyone is too frightened to come forward and to give me their name and address, they can do so, obviously, anonymously or in complete confidentiality.
And, of course, they can talk to a civilian if they're too frightened to talk to a police officer. So the motive is really the key thing. You need to find out why he died, and then you'll know who killed him.
Yes, that would be a big step forward. Quite clearly, those responsible were very calculating. They chose the night very carefully. Because of the fireworks going off at the time, and they were thoroughly ruthless. And I would just like to add my words to those of his father and say that if any of you know why Lloyd Simpson was killed, whatever he had in his possession, please contact us as soon as possible.
All right, Bill Peters, thanks very much. You can call us here at Crimewatch on 01 811 8055, or you can ring the City Road Police direct at City Road on 488 5271. That's 488 5271. Now we want to take you back 7 months to the night of Thursday, the 24th of May. What happened on that night has tantalised a large team of detectives and orphaned 2 small children. The place is Balsall Heath in Birmingham. There's a red light district there that attracts street walkers and cruising cars from all around the city. Several women have been murdered in Birmingham in recent years. Prostitutes are frightened, but they work on.
I've been a prostitute for 18 years, and I work in the Balsall Heath area. Since Yvonne died, it's very frightening. Very, very frightening out there. Because you never know who you're picking up. He could talk very, very nice, act as a gentleman until he gets you to the place. And then he could turn all of a sudden.
That's almost certainly what happened to Yvonne Coley. She was 28, quiet but well-liked, and though she'd never married, she was a mother with 2 young daughters to support.
Beverly, don't you stay up late watching this telly?
And finally, the 24 hours after the Lancashire water station
Good night, Beverly.
it's still not
Don't
known
stay up
what
late
caused
now.
the explosion which killed
No,
9
good night,
people.
love.
One of them at
Now don't go to
12
sleep late.
Messages of sympathy have been sent by the Queen and by the Prime Minister. This has been News at 10. Good night.
We know just after News at 10 had finished that Yvonne made herself ready to go to work. She was late tonight, for the 24th of May was her mother's birthday, and there'd been a party. Sometime after 11, she left her house in Bordsley Green. Meanwhile, 2 miles away in Balsall Heath, 2 other girls had found a punter whom they remember well. A rather drunken client, and a blue van that would soon assume a crucial significance.
She's just my friend, that's all. She always comes with me.
I want her out, and I want you in the back.
I don't get her in the back of vans.
In the back, I say.
Providing you pay me first.
There you are. Leave your bag here.
I just want a cigarette, all right?
Oh, okay. Hey, you! Bring my money! Please, come back! Bring my money!
Yvonne arrived in Balsall Heath at about 11:40. The police believe the blue van was still cruising round the area. Halfway up Ladypool Road, before getting to her beat, Yvonne stopped briefly here.
Hello. One of them meat patties.
As far as the shopkeeper can remember, Yvonne appeared to have no more than small change in her purse.
Ta, see ya.
As Yvonne crossed Brighton Road, she was recognised by this local club owner.
Hey, push it!
She was now heading for her usual beat on the corner of Sandford Road.
You're late going up tonight.
I've been at my mum's. We're having a party, it's a birthday.
Oh. What time is it anyway?
12:15.
Oh, I'm going home. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, stay on a bit. 5 minutes.
OK, wait till you get your first one, then I'm off. Oh, it's a packy, I don't want in.
Oh, I'll do it, me. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. Ta-ra.
Yvonne went with her first client at 11:45. Later evidence, the amount of cash found with her body, suggests she did have other customers in the next half hour. If she did, she might have come here with them, a car park behind Ladypool Road, where the prostitutes earn their money in their clients' cars. But at some stage she must have come here, to the Warstock area about 3 miles away. It was here at 20 minutes past midnight that a couple walking home noticed a similar blue van parked in the entrance to Coxmore's Woods golf course. 8:30 the next morning, the same spot on Warstock Lane. The blue van was gone now, but a few paces from where it had been, a local resident made a gruesome discovery on his morning walk.
Another Mike 21, attend Warstock Lane to a report of a female body under the hedgerow on the golf course. Relative Mike 21 received, over.
I knew Yvonne as a friend. They always say, oh no, it won't happen to me. But look at the heartbreak it brings when you're left for dead. Those men, all the prostitutes, if they'd seen anything that night, we'd just like them to come forward, because somebody must have seen something that night. Everybody's not blind. They're not.
Well, before we speak to the man in charge of the inquiry, Detective Superintendent Roy Taylor, let's just recap on the geography of the area. When Yvonne arrived in Balsall Heath, she walked down Ladypool Road. The club owner saw her here as she crossed Brighton Road. Then we saw her meet her friend here on the corner of Sandford Road. That was the last time she was seen alive. It was about 3 miles away on Coxmore Woods golf course that her body was found next morning, just off Warstock Lane. She'd been strangled. Well, Superintendent Taylor, that blue van there seems to be the crucial clue, is it?
It is crucial, yes, because we have 3 sightings of the van that night. One at about 11:30 p.m. in Birchwood Crescent, again in the area of Church Road a short time later, and then of course near to where Yvonne's body was found at about 12:20 a.m. on the Friday morning.
So you do need to trace that, if only to eliminate it from your inquiries?
We do most definitely, yes.
The trouble is there are hundreds of blue vans, of course. Can you narrow it down for us?
Yes, it's a dark blue van in the 15, 17 or 22 hundredweight class. No windows in the side, and it is fitted with, we believe, Lee Conquest, this type of tyre, which is a cross-ply with Avon Supervan tyres also.
So that's an interesting combination of tyres on one van?
Yes, we've checked many thousands of vans in this inquiry, and as yet we've only turned up 3 with similar combination of tyres. It's almost like a fingerprint.
What about the driver?
Well, we don't know for certain the driver of the van in Warstock Lane, but of course we've got the Asian gentleman that we're looking for, who was involved with the 2 prostitutes earlier in the evening, and he is described as an Asian, 40 years of age, very well built, with a moustache, a Mexican-style moustache, which will particularly distinguish him.
Now, Yvonne was last definitely seen at 11:45 that night, and that blue van, the last sighting of a blue van, was at 12:20. Do you think those are the times between which she was murdered?
I think that she was probably murdered a short time after that, and that would be consistent with the sighting of the blue van in Warstock Lane, because when she went out and when she bought the pâté, we know that she had no money with her. We know that she had money with her when her body was found, and of course that would indicate that she'd been with a number of clients.
What about a blue Mercedes that somebody said they saw her in?
Yes, we've got an unconfirmed sighting of her in a blue Mercedes in Brighton Road at about 1 a.m. that morning, and we do need particularly to try and find the person who was driving that vehicle, whether he was with a prostitute or with his wife or whoever, if only to lose the sight, to try and eliminate them from the inquiry.
Briefly, how else can the public help?
Well, of course, if we can trace the van with that combination of tyres on it, if we could trace the person that was with Yvonne, anybody that was with Yvonne that night, then I would appeal to them to come forward and contact me.
Superintendent Taylor, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any way you think you can help in any way, please don't let this happen again. The number to ring, 01811 8055, that's here at Crimewatch, or you can call Edward Road Police Station at Birmingham 440 1155. That's 021 440 1155.
Well, this month, police need your help with a crime in the West Country. Maybe you live there, maybe you travelled there last September. And perhaps without realising it, you were on the same train as a killer or the killer's victim. It was a crime committed in a public place where there must have been hundreds of potential witnesses. The date was the 10th of September last year, a Monday. You could look back in a diary or a calendar to check what you were doing. Our reconstruction starts with what might have been just a bizarre coincidence. It begins on this rail journey. That afternoon, the 3:18 express train left Cardiff for London Paddington. On board, 2 buffet stewards were about to start work.
Time to open up.
Okay. That's him. One with a tash.
The chief steward thought that remark was suspicious. The men may have been out to rob the buffet. So later, he asked his colleague to check out the 2 passengers to see if he recognised them. He didn't, but he remembers one man had a northern accent and both were scruffily dressed. The one on the left was over 6 foot with a spotty complexion. The other had a moustache, was slim and in his early 20s.
We're now approaching Bristol Parkway. Passengers
The 2 men got up to leave the train shortly before 10 to 4, as it neared Bristol Parkway. They walked to the rear carriage. Perhaps they knew it was closest to the station exit. All the time they'd been on the train, the 2 buffet staff, particularly the steward with the moustache, felt they were being watched. Perhaps the reason the 2 men got off at Parkway was that they'd realised the person they were looking for wasn't on that train. Early evening, the same day, at Paddington Station in London. Another steward, also with a moustache, Mark Yendell, and this stewardess were due to start their last shift of the day. The 7:30 evening train to Temple Meads would take them both back home to Bristol.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the chief steward. The buffet car, situated at the rear of the train, is now open for light refreshments, drinks, toasted sandwiches, etc. Thank you.
Regulars on the train might well have recognised Mark Yendell and his assistant. They often worked together as a team on the buffet cars on that West Country line. Mark was married with a baby daughter, and he was known for his individual style of working. He rarely wore the full chief steward's uniform, preferring to work simply in an open-necked shirt. And he even acted as waiter to a few regular customers.
Right, that's us then. Let's go. No, I think I'll give it a miss tonight, Debbie.
At 9:10 that evening, Mark Yendell and his assistant had finished work at Bristol Temple Meads. Station staff remember he left by the main exit and walked out to the adjoining car park where he'd left his red Lancia car earlier that day. Now he was only a few minutes away from home, but he was never to see his family again. From forensic evidence, it would seem that Mark was attacked in the car park by at least 2 men, and that he was then driven away in the back of his own car. Whoever killed him must have had some local knowledge, because the Lancia was taken to Welsh Back, a spot between the Bristol and Redcliffe bridges, and conveniently close to the water's edge. It was 2 days later, in the early hours of Wednesday the 12th of September, that Mark Yendell's car was discovered by this policeman patrolling Bristol docks. Bloodstains on the car and pavement led him into sheds by the dockside, and he followed a trail to the water's edge.
Control from 2094, request backup Welsh back. Vehicle found in suspicious circumstances. Over.
This was where frogmen working in 14 feet of water recovered the body of Mark Yendell. Mark, pictured here only months before his death, had not been robbed. It was an apparently motiveless killing. Well, Detective Chief Inspector Jeff Butler is leading this investigation. 2 stewards with moustaches on 2 train journeys on the same day. Do you think that's a connection, or do you think that's coincidence?
I think there may well be a connection. Both stewards looked remarkably alike. And, of course, the deceased Mark Yendell, prior to working on the Bristol run, used, in fact, to work on the Cardiff run.
Could we have your descriptions of the 2 men that you were hoping to interview again?
Yes, firstly, the man on the left was by far the smaller of the 2. He had a moustache, a Mexican-style moustache, about 5 foot 6 inches tall. He had dark brown hair, which was cut very short. The second man was described as a big man, 6 feet 2, 6 feet 3, slim build, with hair which was curly on top, and he was wearing a fawn lumber jacket with a dirty white collar. And it's interesting to note, when they got off the train, the man on the left, the smaller of the 2 men, appeared to be wearing a burgundy body warmer with a black stripe around the waistband.
You need to trace those men, even if only to eliminate them from
Yes, we
the
do.
inquiries.
I really would like to trace them.
Are there any clues from the scene of the murder on that night?
Yes, there are. A witness saw a white Mark IV Cortina with a T suffix. And this vehicle was seen to drive slowly into the car park, as though it was looking for somewhere to park.
It's a bit confusing between those 2 cars there. Which car is which?
Yes, it's the white one, the one on the right. It drove slowly into the car park, followed by the witness's car. And the witness thought that the car was looking for somewhere to park. He followed the car slowly into the car park, and then the car stopped just past the entrance to the part of the car park where the deceased was murdered. He then noticed that a man had come and started speaking to the driver of the Ford Cortina, and that man is described as very heavily built, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. And we'd like to trace him.
It's very hard to believe that no one saw anything in a busy station car park like that at 9:10 in the evening.
Yes, it is rather strange. It's a very busy place, Temple Meads, especially at that time of night. The car itself that the deceased was driven away in is a red Lancia, which is not that common a car. And of course, when it left Temple Meads, it drove down to Welsh Back, which is also another very busy area of the city, surrounded by pubs and clubs.
Mr. Butler, thank you very much indeed. And the number to ring in absolute confidence, if you can help in any way, is 01 811 8055, 01 811 8055, or you can call the Trinity Road Incident Room in Bristol, and that is Bristol 267 985, Bristol 0272 267 985.
In fact, I can tell you we've already had a very high volume of calls tonight. Now, lastly this evening, we go to northeast Scotland. We want to take you back 6 months to a remote part of the country, and maybe you know somebody who's been there. On Monday, September the 24th, last year, the small village of Culbokey was shocked by a murder. The victim was Elizabeth Sutherland, a popular woman in the village and the mother of 2 children. Her home, Culbokey, is on the Black Isle, just north of Inverness. The Black Isle is a peninsula on the south side of the Cromarty Firth. The village of Culbokey, with a population of about 300, overlooks the Firth. This is where Elizabeth Sutherland lived. This is the family home, Dunrobin. It's on the outskirts of Culbokey, on the road towards the next village, Munlochy. Only 5 feet tall, Elizabeth was also known as Totsy. Her husband, Kenny, is a builder, and they've a son, Stephen. On the morning of Monday, September the 24th, Totsy dropped off her other child, Jane, at the village school.
Cheerio.
See you later. Watch yourself.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Her next stop was to pick up the morning paper.
Morning, Alice.
Morning, Tots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheerio just now.
Cheerio.
By 12 o'clock, after calling at her parents' house, Totsie was home and finishing off the housework. Then, about 12:30, she walked the 50 yards down to her parents' house to see her sister.
Jean? Oh, it's you. What you doing back again?
Just back to see those barrels we bought.
Uh-huh.
See if they'll fit in the pots.
Really? Oh, mine are fine. Look at this.
Totsie was always active in village life. That day, she and her sister Jane were planning for the local bulb show.
Got on fine with mine.
I think we might win something there.
Oh, I think so. I think we've got a good chance at this year. Definitely. Uh-huh.
I was thinking of planting some in the garden. You know,
Really?
this afternoon,
Oh, well, that'd make a nice display for the spring, wouldn't it?
At about the same time, a mile away, this lorry driver finished his break and set off up the Mount Eagle Road. The road goes by the Mount Eagle transmitter in the direction of Culbokey. A mile further on, he'd passed the Sutherland's house. As the lorry drove along the single-track road, a red Cavalier car tried to get past. The driver remembered that the registration number ended with a T.
You know what you're doing now? Wait, I'll see you later anyway.
Right.
He's back.
Okay, Ben, I'll see you later.
Totsie left her sister after chatting for no more than 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the lorry driver noticed the red Cavalier again. It was now parked, with the driver apparently gone, and less than a quarter of a mile from Dunrobin. The lorry driver saw Totsie as he passed the house. The time, according to his tachograph, was 12:38. This was the last time she was definitely seen alive. Strangers and strange cars stand out in a small community like Culbokey, and several incidents were noticed that day. At 1 o'clock, this cyclist was seen heading into Culbokey village. He had a hat and a fawn coat. The police have never been able to trace him. At 1:35, a man was seen on the Dunkerston Road walking towards the village. He, too, has never been traced. And then between 2 and 4, another Cavalier, this time a white one, was seen by 2 different witnesses, parked here, only a few yards from the house. At about 4 o'clock, Jane Sutherland came home from school. Sometime in the previous 3.5 hours, her mother had been stabbed to death in the house. Her 9-year-old daughter discovered the body. Superintendent Andrew Lister, how's the family now?
The family are remarkably good. The little girl, who's a very bright girl, is a bit disturbed, upset, but overall they are remarkably good.
Have you any idea of the motive?
No clear idea. There is indications of it being theft, but then nothing was stolen. So I've got to honestly say there's no clear motive.
Well, let's take a look at the clues. We have a map here. Now, let's remind ourselves of the sightings. Dunrobin, there it is, on the east side of Culbokey. The red car was seen here, about 400 or 500 yards from the home. The white car was seen here, very close to the house. Now, you need to find the drivers.
That is correct. We are the two vehicles being so close to the locus at the material time on that date. It's of utmost importance that we do identify the drivers and the owners of the cars so that we can eliminate them from the inquiry.
It's a red Cavalier and a white Cavalier, and it's Monday, September the 24th last year.
That's the correct name.
Now, there was also the cyclist on the road from Cromarty, wasn't it, just outside Colbokey?
That is correct. The cyclist is in the same category as the cars. Despite very extensive inquiries, we have been unable to trace them.
And a pedestrian on the road to Colbokey, on the Dunkerston Road, I think.
Again, that is exactly the same, yes.
Now, do you have any other clues at all?
Yes, we have one person, a male person, who walked into the filling station at Conan Bridge. It's known as Conan Bridge Filling Station, about at 9:30 p.m. on the evening of the murder. He was carrying a gallon oil can, which he had filled with petrol, purchased 20 Regal cigarettes, and left. He was heard to speak and had an English accent.
So he's English and he smokes Regal cigarettes. Any other information? I mean, presumably it's possible that it wasn't an outsider at all. Is there anything you want the residents of Colbokey to look out for or report?
Oh yes, very much so. I would ask the people in Colbokey to think hard about what happened prior to the murder, what happened on the day of the murder, what they saw, what they heard, and what they've seen and heard since. It may be of importance to this case. We need their help, very much so, the local people. And I would ask all viewers to think hard if they can give us anything at all that may help us in this case, and we certainly need it. Then I'd ask them to ring in now and do so, and it would be treated in confidence.
All right, thank you very much, Superintendent Lister. The number, as always, if you're going to ring here in London, 01 811 8055, 01 811 8055, or you can call Northern Constabulary direct. Here's the number, Dingwall 62444. That's 0349 for Dingwall, 62444. Now to the first of this month's Reconstructions. A few weeks ago, we received a tragic and very moving letter from Robert and Lee Goble in Hastings. They were desperate to find whoever set fire to their home 3 months ago while they and their children were asleep inside. At the same time, Sussex Police asked us for help. In the reconstruction you're about to see, many people, including neighbours who were there that Saturday night, have taken part. Actors and actresses play the Goble family. Their house is 38 St Helens Road, which is a main thoroughfare in Hastings. Our reconstruction begins in the early hours of Sunday, February the 3rd.
Sammy, Sammy, come on. Come, Sammy. Sammy, come. Come.
Finished.
Right.
What time are we going to your mum's tomorrow, love?
Oh, I said about lunchtime. I must look in on the kids.
Lee Goble kissed the children goodnight as usual before she and her husband went to bed. It was about 1:30. Just over an hour later, a taxi drove up St Helens Road. The driver recalled seeing two men with an oil drum beside a van parked near the Gobles' house. He assumed they'd run out of petrol. A passing driver remembers a man dashing across the road into the park opposite number 38.
Lee! Lee! For God's sake, wake up, woman! The house is on fire!
Oh my God, the kids! The kids!
Hearing her screams, Bob Spice, a builder who lives next door, rushed out to help. Another neighbour phoned the fire brigade. As Bob got a ladder up to the parents, he realised the children were still trapped in the back bedroom. He tried desperately to reach them. Another neighbour, Ron Salt, realised he'd have to climb the ladder to try and persuade the parents to come down. He'd already noticed a young man simply standing and watching. He was holding a white crash helmet.
For God's sake! Come on down! Come on! Listen! Get out of the house! The fire brigade on the way!
As the ambulance left, the police already knew that the fire had been started deliberately. The two children never recovered. The arson attack had now become a murder inquiry. And Detective Superintendent Bill Clements is in charge of the case. Do you think murder was the intention?
Well, I think that they meant harm to the Goble family because by pouring the petrol on the stairs, they cut off their way of escape, so they meant to harm them, yes.
Have you found any possible grudge against the family?
No, they're a very happy family. We've seen all their friends and relatives. Nobody has any grudge against the Gobles, and certainly they couldn't have had anything against those two little children.
So no apparent motive at the moment. You found that oil can in the garden. Do you think that's significant?
Yes, at some time it's contained petrol. It doesn't belong to any of the Gobles, and it doesn't belong to any of their near neighbours. But it certainly contained petrol.
What's rather surprising is that it was a main road, and yet not many witnesses have come forward.
That's true. In fact, we've got over 30 people that have been described by various witnesses who we've still yet to trace. There are a lot of people still outstanding.
Now, a number of people you particularly want to get hold of, the two men who were seen beside that van.
That's right. They were seen sometime earlier than in that evening. One of the men was in his mid-30s with a sallow complexion and wearing a bomber jacket. They need to be eliminated from the inquiry.
And the van's quite unusual.
Yes, it's exactly as shown. It's a BMC model, except that at the rear there are windows in the doors. It's a model that hasn't been manufactured since 1972.
And do you know what colour it was, the van?
No, the taxi man who saw it can only say it's red. Dark, sorry.
A dark colour, right. And you also want to know who that man was on the screen there who was running across the road?
Yes, he was seen just before the fire was discovered. He's most important. He's a young man in his early 20s in a sort of motorcycle jacket, probably leather. He's most important for us to find.
That was about 3:45.
Yes.
And interesting, he had a leather jacket because the young man who was seen just gazing at the blaze also had a leather
That's
jacket.
right, and the man with the white crash helmet was at the scene when the fire was discovered. He could be the same man as previously shown, but of course they were described by different witnesses.
So we need to find those.
Most important, those men are.
Anyone else you particularly want to find out who you know was there?
Yes, there's a young lady who was walking her dog. She was seen within 100 yards of the scene just about the time of the fire. It's most unusual for anybody to be walking a dog that time of night, and we would have liked for her to have come forward.
Right, so to sum up, exactly what do you want people to come forward with tonight?
We want anybody who didn't have relatives in their house, who fear they might know the identity of the person responsible, and even if it means informing on someone they know, it's most important that they come forward.
Detective Superintendent, thank you. And if you think you can help, please do ring us. You can talk to the detectives, or if you prefer, you can talk to a BBC researcher. The number 01811 8055. The lines are open, but if you can't get through, keep trying. Or you could call Sussex Police in Hastings. The number 425 000. That's 0424, the code for Hastings, 425 000.